Good evening, Supervisor Vecchio, Councilman Malloy, McCarthy, Creighton, and Werheim. My name is Anthony Inzarello, and I live at 8 Terry Drive with my wife and 3 wonderful children. I want to press upon you the importance of enforcing the zoning regulations at the properties located, as the previous speaker just spoke about, along Lawrence Road and Old Northport Road. I know that Supervisor Vecchio, you had mentioned that there have been people been going out just to check some of the odor complaints, the noise complaints, and some of the other complaints that the residents, including myself, have been experiencing. But it appears that they're going and checking at times during the course of the day when we're experiencing some of these issues at 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, and during other times of the night. And it would be great if we could send people out during those times when we're experiencing some of these quote-unquote nuisances. It would be ideal if they can do it during that time. And I'm hoping that in addition to not only just the zoning regulations that they're violating, but there are trucks that are driving down Old Northport Road from Indian Head Road that are over 2.5 tons that shouldn't be there. So I'd like to ask what's being done about that. I know that Councilman Creighton is a former police commissioner of Suffolk County. Has anyone contacted the Suffolk Police to be stationed there, put a patrol car there, to monitor the trucks that are driving by that don't belong there? They have no business to be there. Have we? Has anyone contacted the police department? Have violations been issued to the drivers that are driving down there?
I tell you, they've been asked.
I drive down every morning when I leave, on my way to work, and I also drive there when I come home. And almost on a daily basis, I see those trucks there, and it boggles my mind that if I did something illegally, or if I was breaking a law, the expectation would be that someone would be enforcing that law. So I'm not quite sure why that law is not being.
Mr. Inzarello, I think I tried to explain this to you the other
Yes.
day. My own past knowledge of the law is having worked in law enforcement. If a truck seems to be violating a truck exclusion, and the police officer will stop that truck and look at his bill of lading or certificate of entry, if he's going to a destination on that street, then he's not in violation of that truck exclusion. I'm not a lawyer.
Sure.
I can't get into
But
it.
that's like me opening up a motorcycle shop at my house and having, items delivered when I'm operating a business or I'm
Agreed.
operating an establishment that I should not be operating. It's not like JCPenney is driving a truck and delivering a stove or a refrigerator to my home. These are huge tractor-trailer trucks that are driving it that have no business, legal business.
But, as you know, that is not an ongoing process. We keep calling, they send the truck or cars, they write summonses, but they're not there all the time.
I can promise you this, if you go there, I pass there anywhere between 5:15 and 5:30 a.m. every morning. I see them every morning.
I'm not saying you don't, I'm saying I have called the police, and they have responded. I can't tell you how often they respond, they issue summonses. Not just when one truck is going by. They go up there with that specific purpose. Now, I would urge you, I have called and asked, and they have responded. I would urge you to contact the 4th Precinct and demand the same kind of action.
And lastly, Councilman Creighton, the last time I spoke at the last meeting, I had mentioned the concerns that we had along those properties there, and you never mentioned anything about any of your family members that work for the attorney that represents kpeII. And I'm not sure why that was never brought and why that was never mentioned.
Could you just restate that? I had a family member, what?
At the previous town hall meeting, I had indicated that I had some concerns regarding some of the businesses that were conducting illegal activity along the property on Lawrence Road and Old Northport Road. And you never mentioned any kind of conflict that you might have had or
Because
any.
I don't have a conflict.
You never mentioned that you had a family member that represented the
I have
attorneys.
a son who's an attorney,
Right.
practices law in Nassau, Suffolk, and New York City.
You don't think it
He's
might have been
entitled to
important to let?
No, I don't. I don't. Frankly, I don't. You saw how I voted tonight? And frankly, if I voted, I would have voted to go to the Supreme Court. But I abstained. That's important.
But that concerns me, or how someone could abstain when these are serious issues, serious concerns.
You suggest that I not abstain?
No, I would suggest that maybe at the last town board meeting, you would have said that there was some kind of conflict that you had. But I'm sure you're very proud of them.
And I don't feel I have any
don't question
conflict
that.
whatsoever.
I just question why at the last meeting when I brought that up, and other residents brought that up, there was never even mentioned that you might have had a potential conflict.
I don't think I had any potential.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Inzarello, and I live in Kings Park. What I find very upsetting is that kpeII lawyers have been giving money to board for Councilman Creighton to be willingly accept funds from the Political Action Committee, Farrell Fritz, that happens to be a law firm of kpeII for the past 2 years. The Political Action Committee that they are contributed money to both Werheim and Creighton campaigns. When did Councilman Creighton and Councilman Werheim discover that there was a conflict of interest? Was it when Carl McGowan from Newsday called them for a statement? Did Carl McGowan from Newsday make the councilman aware for the first time that Farrell Fritz was donating to their campaigns? It is contributions. If contributions were not given out to the press, was Councilman Creighton ever going to acknowledge this? There have been past donations, small ones, that I've seen that Mr. Creighton has returned because there was a conflict of interest. It has been a totally conscious choice to keep these large donations from Farrell Fritz coming in with a tremendous conflict, which just happens to be a company that we have been back and forth here at the meetings, in emails, in phone calls with the board to have them shut down for multiple illegal activities. I request the companies working outside of the law, Jesco Containers LLC, aka Town, Country and State, at 1 Lawrence Road, and kpeII permanently be shut down. They are at 110 Old Northport Road. In closing, I have in possession petitions from the local residents that deal day in and day out and all night long with the health and safety issues that these companies bring to our serene community. After a full collection of these petitions, we will be submitting them to the board and to higher authorities. Thank you to those board members, public safety, and the town attorneys that have gone that extra mile and that are fighting to close these companies down that operate illegally. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. John, would you address the chair first before you speak?
I just want to ask a question about the petitions.
Okay.
Are those the petitions that are petition.org? Is that the one? I don't know if this microphone's on or not.
They just talk a little louder.
Okay. Are the petitions that you're talking about, are those the petitions from petition.org?
We have two paper and we have electronic.
Are the electronic ones from petition.org? Okay, because
Yes.
I've been getting...
change.org. It's change.org.
Because I've been getting about 10 to 15 of those a day from people, some in Kings Park, but the majority are from, Wantor, Comac, Colorado, Buffalo. So I think if you have the petitions that you're going to submit, if you had petitions just from people in the surrounding area, I think that would be more reasonable and fair to the town board.
Right.
And put that in
That are from out of state.
Some of the petitions, and most of them, that came in said we want people to comply with zoning and stop engaging in criminal activities. So I want to make certain that what you're presenting is actually people kind of in the surrounding area, if that makes sense. I think
Right.
that's
I don't
fair.
want to say the number what we have right now. We still
Okay.
have a couple of weeks left of.
So as long as tonight's the first night anything on that ever came up here.
I understand.
Okay, thanks.
Are we sure?
Of any of the five of you to shut these businesses down. I can't imagine what you possibly could think that any of them add to the community at all. Councilman Creighton, I understand that you don't think you had a conflict, but you had a duty to disclose. And I don't understand, in follow-up to what Mr. Inzarello said, why you did not disclose last year when there was a consultant hired, wasting taxpayer dollars when you knew full well that your son worked for a firm that represented kpeII. Why you didn't even say anything? I don't understand. You don't think you have a conflict? Maybe you don't. I just don't understand why you didn't disclose it. I don't understand why you didn't disclose it a month ago when you should have. Now, having said all that, I understand that you abstained tonight. I actually think what you should have done is I think you should have recused yourself. I don't think abstention was appropriate. But putting that aside, you've gone on record and you've said that had you voted, you would have voted to allow the town attorney to seek the injunction, and that's great. I don't understand why anybody would vote in any other fashion. And if I heard correctly, I think I heard Councilman Warheim vote no.
No, I voted yes.
Did anybody vote no? Or did I miss something?
No.
So it's unanimous. Perfect. So are you all on record as saying that you will vote in the future to shut all these businesses down, all the ones that are acting?
People's doors.
I understand that, Mr.
Okay.
Supervisor, and
And
I'm not
we-
suggesting that you should.
Okay, but when you say shut them down, that's why we go the legal route, which one of the ways is to enjoin them, at least on KPE too.
I'm aware of that, and
If there's a route to do on the others, we will pursue that route.
I'm aware of that, and I testified, and Assistant Town Attorney Martin Simons did a great job
Thank
in
you.
front of Judge Hackling, and I'm more than happy to get involved in any way I can. I want to give you one last thing. I want to read to you an email that I got from Mark Underberg, the principal of kpeII. He sent me an email during a flurry of email exchanges between me and the attorney from Farrell Fritz, who's handling this case, Mr. Armentano. This is what he wrote, and this is the kind of thing we're dealing with. The people who live especially close to kpeII are dealing with. He wrote to me. He actually was writing to Mr. Armentano and CC'd me. Don't let him get to you. He's just doing his thing, meaning me. Maybe he should have not bought a house next to a garbage dump. This is what the principal of kpeII wrote to me. And this is the kind of guy who's running a business affecting these people and me, waking us up at 5:30 in the morning on a regular basis. Now, as far as Jesco is concerned, I want to take 15 seconds in the morning and wake me up on a regular basis. He testified under oath to that effect. Either find him a place to go, or the other alternative is to do exactly what you're doing with kpeII, and that's to seek an injunction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Veronica, and I don't know if I could pronounce the name. Unverzad.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I live on 31 Springbriar Lane, east of KP2. Just a couple of things. As far as the phone calls go, we have called the police. We do call the DEC, EPA. We call them all, and they don't seem to come when we call them. I've called them at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, and they don't show up till 12 o'clock when the noise or the odor stops until later on in the evening. And like somebody else was saying, this goes on at 10 o'clock at night, 2:30, 3:30 in the morning. My husband works shift work, so he hears it when he comes home, and we smell it. Our kids don't get a break. They smell it when they go on the school bus. They're covering their noses. They smell it on the fields when they're playing in the high school. They smell it at school. So my kids are breathing this in all day. There's just no break. I didn't want to really bring this up. As far as you abstaining yourself from not voting, if you were going to vote with us, why, if you don't have, if there's no, I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. If you're working for us, why aren't you voting with us? I don't understand why you're abstaining. Is it because you're trying to run for town supervisor? That's what's making.
I would never have abstained, frankly, except the issue was raised that there was something inappropriate. If there is the appearance of inappropriate behavior, then I'm abstaining. I don't believe there's any appearance, but I abstain.
We have pictures and video, and I saw the police today, and I mean, with the noise, everything. My thing is, obviously something's not being done because they're not being stopped and shut down.
And it's like somebody else had said, if I get a ticket and if I don't pay it, I get a warrant for my arrest. If you don't pay your taxes on your house, they take your house away. These guys, they just continue to do business and nothing is affecting them. And I think we're at the point that we just don't know what to do anymore. And my thing is not only the noise, it's what we're breathing in. There's people that are throwing up in their driveways. The kids are covering their noses. This is no way to live. I pay $15,000 to $16,000 a year in taxes, and I shouldn't have to smell this or deal with the trucks. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And that's all I have to say.
You do not hear from the DEC?
The DEC, and this is my opinion, my husband works for Covanta Energy, so he knows what's going on. He knows the ins and outs of everything. The DC basically came to my house, and I had a couple of neighbors there, and told us that he didn't smell anything. They also told me that when my landscaper was there, well, where do you think your leaves are going to go? They have to go somewhere. So he was just basically giving us the runaround. We've called the DC it's been almost a year and a half now that we've been calling them. It's just now lately that everybody's come together, and we're just constantly calling them, but they've done nothing for us. The only time I think they started to was once we started calling the EPA.
And we'll do our enforcement part to the best of our ability.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marjorie Aronson.